Donnie, you doing all right?
I'm good. It's another day.
Comfortable?
Let's do this.
All right.
No. My body hurts all the time.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yes.
Well, regardless, let's get to proceed this evening. Welcome, one and all, to our show. Myself, Aaron Montgomery, with my good friend.
Donovan Woods.
All right, we sit around, we chit chat all the time, so we said, why not put some of this on video? Because other people might be interested.
There are people who think we're quite interesting.
Sometimes, and
Okay.
everybody always wants to know what we talking about.
What
So
we talking about?
today, we talk about Pistol Pete Maravich.
Who?
Pistol Pete Maravich. So my growing up a lover of basketball, Pistol Pete is kind of somebody I came to know later, like
Same.
probably in my preteen, 12 years old, around that time. When did the movie come out? That's when I got to look at it.
I met you, and I remember seeing it before I met you. So between 90 and 92, that movie came out. I don't know where it was released, how I saw it, but somehow we both had seen that movie on television.
It was definitely a made-for-TV event, but it gave us a view.
Was it called The Pistol?
I think so. The Pistol.
Okay. All right.
But it was all about when he was young. It was like all about like high school.
Right.
It just showed him growing up as a lover of basketball and dribbling around his house and blindfolded and all that. And
Love that.
I think my favorite moment from the movie is when they play his high school plays like the black high school from across the track, and he hits the game what he thinks is the game winner.
Correct.
That might be my favorite scene. Everybody claps. Now I could not find of whether or not that was accurate or not.
That might have been made for TV, but
Right.
it worked. But okay, give people some perspective. So, I guess the name Maravich gave it away. He's not a black guy, and we're talking about basketball, and we're getting excited about it. Pete he played like in the 70s. I want to say 72ish to mid 80s. I guess small forward, shooting guard, 6'6", 6'7". But his
Shooting guard.
handles,
He was a guard.
his handles were. You talk about Isaiah Thomas. People now they talk about Kyrie. He was the original to me. He did things I've still never seen anybody do in game, where you're dribbling, spinning your hand around the ball, smacking it the other way. Here's a stat for you to know how good this kid was and to not see color when we're talking about a basketball player. Aaron, can you tell me how many points did he average while at LSU in college?
44.2, and
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
he played 4 years, but the first year was on the freshman team, so they don't even really count that.
Correct.
But he averaged he scored over 1,000 points a year from his sophomore year to his senior year, ending with a Division I record still,
Yes.
3,667 points.
Ridiculous. Okay, all right. Stop there for a second. Here's another crazy fact about that. You think about Steph Curry now. You think about Klay Thompson. You think about LeBron. He did something that no one's ever done, and he did it without a three-point shot. Every shot he took was worth 2 points or a free throw. 2 points, and he still averaged over 40 points a game. That stat right there is unbelievable.
No 3-point line and no shot clock. So there were teams such as North Carolina in the Four Corners. They
Hold the ball.
weren't in a rush to shoot, but he was a scoring machine. He was just unbelievable.
I think both of us can relate to this. Having fathers that we grew up, they made these players seem bigger than life. So I wish there were more fathers who did that for their kids now, because I was able to not only adore and fall in love with Michael Jordan, but I was able to still have respect and adore Dr. J, Magic, Moses Malone, people from the 70s that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But they gave us that perspective to tell us, no, they were good. Just because you see them in slow-mo now and they got the short shorts, they were nice. Pistol Pete, my dad mentioned, but he was just like, yeah, Pistol Pete was good. He was really good. But then when you see that movie and see this kid who's a coach's son, I believe, just dribbling his heart out on a train track. Imagine walking on a train track and you're keeping the ball next to you, dribbling. And if you ever play basketball, any kind of way, I don't know what this was, but that's what he was doing. Any kind of way you play basketball, any level, to do what he did as a kid, and then to go to the next level to LSU, it's amazing. And you would think more of you would know about this guy because he's a great white basketball player. But something happened when he got to the NBA. I'll let you tell the story. You did a lot more research on Pistol.
Well, he just was not well received by his teammates when he got to he was drafted by Atlanta.
Yep.
And he got a big rookie deal for the time. He was at one point making more money than most of his teammates as a rookie. So they did not. It didn't go over well, and they were like, "Why?" It looked as sort like he was getting that because he was white, which could have been very true at the time. so it was a lot of resentment.
And this isn't nowadays where people are getting flat salaries of $1 million plus. These guys were working in the off season like regular jobs. So to see someone come in and not need to work, yeah.
And the way he played the game, he was before his time. He had some old school players who liked that old school way of basketball, and he was to them new, flashy, and they didn't like that. They didn't need all that extra to get the job done. They just put the ball on the hole. That's what they were about. So they disagreed with his style of play. They disagreed with the money he was making. So he never connected. Couple that with the fact that he was kind of reclusive. He had his own demons with his mother, who was alcoholic.
Right.
His father kind of was. He loved his father, regardless. But he was kind of along the lines of a Todd Maravich, the way his father raised him specifically to be a great football player.
Good pull.
Pete Maravich's father was instilling in him his love of basketball because his father was a coach before.
Right.
So growing up, he was pushing him to be a great basketball player, telling him if he listened to him, he would be. And I don't know if he ever fully or ever felt like he satisfied his father.
Mm-mm. And what's sad about it is most of you don't know who we're talking about. And as we're talking about it, you're probably Googling or you're just like, I've never heard of anybody. You see him in very few NBA highlight reels. You may see him running up down the court, dribbling in kind of high and passing it. But overall, his story is not mentioned much. You hear about Magic, you hear about Isaiah. But as far as ball handlers, especially at his size, he was probably the best I've ever seen. I didn't see him live, but just everything I saw on footage, it doesn't make any sense how someone could be that good with a basketball. I wish he was around at a different time. He came in 1970 draft. He was number 3 pick. I think who went ahead of him? Bob Lanier and Rudy Tomjanovich, the old Houston Rockets coach, were ahead of him. And then he came in number 3 and went down to the dreaded ATL, which is like a basketball purgatory. And I think he finished with the Jazz. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or were they were New Orleans Jazz at that point, right?
Originally, but they had moved to Utah by the time he left.
Oh, so imagine that 70s, 80s, Utah Jazz, Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, no. If he played with the Knicks, I think we hear about him a lot more. Or Boston, we hear about him a lot more.
Definitely. But his stat line, I mean, it should lend itself to people looking after him. As a rookie, he averaged 23, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds, and shot 45% from the
That's
field.
ridiculous.
Those are great numbers. As a rookie, like
You think Lonzo Ball would take those numbers?
Especially the shooting percentage. He did win a scoring title in the 76-77 season, averaging 31 points a game that year.
And pause there. Give people some perspective. We grew up in the 90s. Michael averaged between 28 and 30 his whole time, right? So we're used to it. Anybody who averaged under 30 to us was kind of like, eh. But at that time, to have a guard in a big man's league, average that many points and shoot that high of a percentage, there may have been a lot of resentment. He may have had a green light. He must have had a green light because I don't think anybody else on his team. He only made the playoffs like 3 or 4 times. But as a guard shooting that much, it was unheard of at the time. And this is the time when they were still in ABA, American Basketball Association. So he can get lost in history books, but if you
I think by that year they had merged. By
They
76,
just merged?
77 had merged because some of the talent had risen with the inclusion. Because Dr. J was in the league by then. Because he was one of the people that he outscored. Nobody was within 5 points of his scoring average that year. Kareem was in the league. Bob McAdoo was in the league. Rick Barry, Dr. J, George Gervin, like some people that everybody has heard of. And I watched the game where he dropped 68 points on the Knicks.
68?
68 points. This is the Knicks with Clyde the Glide. This is with Earl
Phil Jackson.
This is Phil Jackson. These are those Knicks. Like they were a great team at that point. This is probably a year before they won the title, or a year or two before they won the title. But he dropped 68 again. No 3-point line.
Oh, okay. Listen to this. His whole career, he never shot for free throws. Because guards now can't even shoot free throws. He never shot below exactly 80%. His highest was 90% in his last year, but he shot 80% or above. For field goals, he shot, the lowest was 412. That's the next, before he even retired. So who knows what he was doing physically. But as a guard in a league where, I mean, because even by the time he retired, 1979, 80-ish, the league was still big men. I mean, Correct. When we talk about college basketball at that point, you're talking about Patrick Ewing just getting to Georgetown. You're talking about Ralph Sampson dominating at UVA. So to talk about a guard, I mean, even Michael Jordan, when he was at UNC, he came in the third pick. So it wasn't a small man's game like it is now. So to do what he did, had he come in the league 30 years later, that's a long time, but had he come in the league right now, we would be talking a lot about him. It wouldn't just be Steph Curry. It would be a lot about him because he's actually bigger.
He would be much more beloved. He had a good career, 5 All-Star teams, 4 All-NBA appearances. So he had a solid career. I don't know why people don't talk more about him. Sadly, he died in 88, I believe.
Yeah, cancer.
No. They found out he had only one coronary artery.
That's right.
So he basically died of a heart attack. But
that's right.
He had one coronary artery, which all of us usually have 2. He had one and had a complete career. You know, it's sad that he died at
truly an athlete,
40 years old. But
that scene. You know what's funny? When I watched the show, the movie in early 90s, it seemed like he died a long time ago, but he had just recently died, and it seemed like he died at an old age. I'm 43 now, so to think that he left that soon, that is sad. That's here's something I looked up just to show you that there's no comparison to him, and even the stats, they try to say, well, this is who Pete Maravich will look like now. Listen to these names, and you know from footage, this ain't the same dude. Pete Maravich. Through 10 years, who he actually kind of relates to. Ty Lawson, Klay Thompson, Latrell Sprewell. That's a range. Ty Lawson, no. Wait, don't even compare him to. Klay Thompson, I don't know what his defense was like. Klay can play defense. Latrell Sprewell can't shoot like that. Didn't last in the league that long either. But there has not been another player like him. With his size. Magic was probably the closest, but Magic was bigger, and Magic, again, played in LA at a different time. So, sucks for Pete, but
18-5 scorer in history of the NBA, 7th among guards. And, I mean, how long would you say the NBA has been guard-oriented?
Since the middle of Mike's career. We start getting guys coming in. Let's say Kendall Gill-ish, so like early 90s. It's almost 30 years.
So, in all that time, only 7 guards have supplanted him on the scoring list for guards, or 6 guards rather.
We waited. You can't say we didn't wait. I mean, we thought it was normal. We were, a little greedy. We thought it was normal to grow up with a shooting guard who averaged 28 plus. And they came along from the Allen Houstons to Latrell Sprewell to Reggie Miller. None of them consistently could put up that much. And again, to mention his health deficiency and the fact that he was able to do that back then in a league that everybody still was smoking and drinking after and before games.
Apparently he drunk like a fish. Like he earned that.
Well, there you go. All right. So he is a genetic freak. But if you get a chance, look up Pistol Pete Maravich. His name is Pete Maravich, but look up Pistol Pete. The movie's called The Pistol. It takes place from his younger years to right before he goes to LSU. It's a great ending to the story. It's a well-done movie. I probably went back and watched it now. It's probably garbage. But at the time, it looked like a good movie. I've never seen it again, but I loved it. I love sports movies.
Fortunately, YouTube exists nowadays, so a lot of his highlights are on YouTube. The complete game where he scored 68 points is on YouTube. I watched the whole thing, watched every point.
That's dedication. People. What we talking about? That's the name of the show. That's dedication. We're not just talking about nothing. My man watched the entire game. And you can either judge him from being like, he ain't got nothing going on, or you can say that guy is dedicated to his craft. I tend to go a little bit in between. So
we still quarantine, man. We got time on our hands. So don't go outside. Learn about Pistol Pete.
All right, Mr. Montgomery. That was a good topic. And to everybody out there watching, we appreciate it again, the support. And we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.